Calgary's June 2026 market was not what the headlines are telling you. It wasn't a crash, it wasn't a boom, it was something more interesting than either of those. And if you're buying, selling, or just trying to figure out where the market is going, you need to understand what is actually happening. I'm going to walk you through the whole June Calgary Real Estate Board report today. Every property type, detached, semi-detached, row homes, and apartments, where each one sits, who's winning, who's losing, and what any of it means for you. I'm Joel Borsos with First Call Realty Services. Real numbers, plain language, no hype. Let's go. Fast one before I dig into it. If you want the Calgary market broken down every single month like this, hit subscribe and drop your neighborhood in the comments. I read everyone and I'll tell you what June looked like specifically for your pocket. All right, let's get into it. Now, I get very frustrated because I actually have this conversation every single day, all the time, with sellers I have, with buyers that I'm meeting across the board. They go, did I make the right decision? Am I choosing the right thing to do right now? Because I see this in the headlines. I want to time the bottom. Or should I be selling right now because everything's on this downward trend? And I get so frustrated with the way that it's being reported because it is not the truth. It is very dependent on the type of property you have or the type of property you're looking for in the area that you want to be in or are currently in. That tells a completely different story. The headline is using everything as a whole, and it is telling something that completely is opposite versus what is going to be happening for you in your home and in your neighborhood. So big picture first. Then we'll break down by property type. Total residential sales in June were 2,197. That's down about 4% year over year. It sounds soft, but sales volume was basically flat. $1.47 billion moved through the Calgary real estate market in a single month. So the story isn't that Calgary stopped buying, it's that fewer buyers spend more per deal. Now, new listings were 3,899, down almost 8%. Inventory sits at 6,799, down 2% from last June. Benchmark price citywide is 572,500, down about 2%. Days on market went from 33 to 37. Sales to list ratio held at 98%. On paper, slightly softer summer than last year. But that is the citywide number. But here's the thing I've been hammering on for months. The citywide number lies because Calgary doesn't have one market anymore. It is four. And they're moving in four completely different directions. So let's actually show you. Detached homes are first. Single family sales were actually up in June. 1,202 versus 1,192 a year ago. Barely, but up. In a supposedly slowing market, detached grew year over year. Inventory's down almost 4%. Months of supply tightened from 2.61 to 2.49, which means the detached sellers market actually got tighter, not looser. That's the opposite of what most people are telling you. Benchmark for detached is 750,500 citywide, down 1.4% from last year. Days on market are 31. If you own a detached home and somebody's telling you the market's soft, you're not looking at the right numbers. And within detached, there's a real district story that matters. West Calgary just crossed $1 million with this benchmark pricing, up 3.7% year over year. City centers right behind it at 996,800. Northwest is holding at 791,500. Those three districts are the strongest. The softer end of detached, Northeast at 560,700, down about 7%, and at 489,400, down 4% is the East. But even in those quadrants, homes are moving. They're just moving at lower prices. That's not distress. That's called adjustment. Now, semi-detached, duplexes. And this is the segment nobody talks about, but probably should. Sales are up 10% year over year. The biggest year over year sales growth of any property type in Calgary right now. Benchmark price is 694,600, up a fraction of a percent, essentially flat. Months of supply is at 2.5, and the days on market are at 36. Semi-detached is quietly the most stable part of Calgary's market. Not exciting, but that's the point. If you're a buyer who wants ownership without the swing of detached prices and without the softness we're seeing in condos, semi-detached is where the value lives right now. And honestly, I think it's underrated. It doesn't make headlines because nothing dramatic is happening. But nothing dramatic is exactly what makes it a good buy in a divided market. Row homes, townhouses, sales in June were 338, down about 3% year over year. The benchmark price was 424,100, down about 5.5%. Months of supply sits at 3.41, and days on market has climbed to 41, up from 33 last year. Rows are the middle of the market right now, not tightening like detached, not loosening like apartments, softening a bit, but not dramatically. The one townhome story worth calling out is the Northeast row homes are down 11% year over year with more than 4.7 months of supply. Those are entry level pockets where a buyer has real negotiating power right now. For everyone else, rows are a middle of the road segment. Not the hottest, not the softest. If you're a buyer, you have a bit of leverage. If you're a seller, you need to price accurately and be patient. Condos, 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 condos. This is the part that everybody has been harping on over and over again. And this is where things look most different from everything else in this report. Sales dropped 20% year over year. 531 down to 423. Months of supply jumped from 3.98 to 4.91, a 23% increase. Days on market went from 41 to 49, and the benchmark price is 299,000, down 9% from last year. That's a genuine buyer's market, and it's happening while detached is tightening at the same time. The biggest apartment drops are in the East and Northeast Calgary. East apartments are down 15.4% year over year, and the benchmark price is 214,500. Northeast apartments are down 14.6% to 254,600. Both districts have over 6 months of supply. Real window for the right buyer in those pockets. If you own a condo you're trying to sell, I'll be straight with you. This is a hard summer and harder than last year's summer. Price accurately from day one, or you'll sit for 50 plus days and end up taking less. So, what to do with all this? Let me speak to a few different people. If you're selling a detached home, hold your ground on price. The headlines will tell you it's soft, but it isn't. Not for you. Price it right and it will move. If you're selling a semi-detached home, you're actually in the strongest position of anyone right now. Sales are up, prices are stable, decent demand. Don't get talked into cutting your price because the citywide average has dropped. If you're selling a row home or condo, you need to be realistic. Price it correctly from day one. This is not the market to test a high number and negotiate down. It's the market where the sellers who price accurately are gonna win, and the ones who don't sit for 50 plus days. Now, I'm gonna talk to you, the buyer. Figure out what you actually want. Detached, especially west side, you're gonna compete hard. Semi-detached, quiet, steady buy. Row homes, decent leverage in the softer pockets. Condos, especially east and northeast, real window if you can execute correctly right now. And if you're just watching, trying to figure out where all this goes, my honest take is detached stays tight through the summer. Semi keeps holding, row homes continue to slowly soften, and condos aren't done adjusting yet. Different property types, different trajectories. The citywide average is going to keep hiding all of this. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Calgary this year, reach out and I'll walk you through your specific situation with the real numbers and the real units, not headline generalities. Comment your neighborhood and the type of home you're looking at below, and I'll respond. Hit like if this was useful. Subscribe if you want July numbers next month. I'm Joel Borsos with First Call Realty Services. Talk soon.